Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Lido Poolside community call, the last call for the year 2025. So this December edition of the call will be dedicated to updates to the protocol decentralization roadmap. Today, we're going to walk through, I guess, the two more prominent Lido core staking modules, so Curated and CSM, as well as also discuss a little bit Lido Labs goal setting and also the grant funding proposals for 2026. Before I can dive into the first speaker, let me share with you some little details on how you can participate and some organizational details about this call. So we're going to address your questions right after each section. And today we're going to have 3 sections in total. So CSM Anniversary by Dima. We're going to talk about Curated Module V2 Landscape with Sasha. And finally, we're going to dive into Lido's new chapter with Vasiliy. So you can post your questions in whichever platform you're watching us from. So either Twitter, LinkedIn, or YouTube. Feel free to just leave your question whenever the speaker is talking so that we can pick them up just after this section. And we have just a little bit of a note, which is that YouTube may not support you sharing links. So if your question also includes a link, you can post that either in Twitter or in LinkedIn streams. So we will do our best, I guess, during the call to answer your questions, but also we want to wrap it up in around an hour. So before 3 p.m. UTC. I guess that's it. So without further ado, let's start with Dmitry. Dmitry is Staking Modules Lead at Lido Labs Foundation. And the floor is yours.
Thank you, Gabriela. Okay, let's get started. Today, we're going to be not just talking about CSM, not just talking about features of CSM. We're going to be celebrating CSM Anniversary because not long ago, CSM had grown up to 1 year old on mainnet, which is absolutely amazing. So let's see how community staking and CSM in particular transformed Lido validator set. And first, we need to move back in time 2 years. And you will probably ask, well, why 2 years? We'll learn about it in a second. But now, Lido validator set 2 years ago, 37 node operators. No operators with more than 1% of total Ethereum stake. Absolutely amazing. 5 client teams, about 6K STETH as an insurance fund should anything go bad, like slushing or whatever. The main operator alignment tool is Trust, and the average waiver is something around 89.4. Looks pretty good, right? And if you compare this characteristics of the validator set, of Lido validator set 2 years ago to the majority of the at-scale staking protocols today, you would likely notice that even this set of characteristics also already makes Lido validator set stand out. But there were some things that I personally find not super great about that. Like, for example, the only operator alignment tool is trust. So no things like bond or additional technologies or whatever. So should something go bad with the trust, well, there might be issues. The other thing is that given the size of Lido, 6K of STETH is a decent portion of insurance fund. However, there has been room for improvement. And this started with a few things. But first, a summary. So, again, as I mentioned, Lido Validator said 2 years ago already had a good decentralization, the best pro node operators. It featured ecosystem support via client teams being node operators in Lido. For sure, great performance and protection by insurance fund. Amazing. But there were some downsides, like, for example, only curated entrants. So not each and every node operator was able to be a Lido node operator. And the process of the curation is a very strict to ensure that the protocol is going to behave well and perform well. So not great. Only operator's reputation as an alignment tool, as I mentioned, limited capacity for expansion because of the two factors above. Just 37 operators, and you might say, well, 37 is already good. And yes, but for me, it is just 37 operators and low level of automation. So most of the things around node operator set were done manually by the amazing node operator mechanisms team. So how it transformed? It all started with step one, where community stakers were welcomed into Lido Validator set. And it all happens thanks to the first ever module for community stakers in Lido, which is called Simple DVT. Simple DVT was a module that, and still is, the module that features the same code and tech as the existing curated module, which made the rollout of Simple DVT a pretty smooth and fast operation. And DVT technology was the key, was the thing that allowed Lido to finally use the same tech, the same code as for the curated set, so no bond and whatsoever, but allow community stakers to join. And it was achieved via a way how DVT works. So within a cluster, you have a few participants, and to perform any malicious action or to go offline or to face any other issue, there should be some sort of either coordination or correlation in between participants. And given that these participants were evenly distributed across different geographies, different jurisdictions, it was the key. However, Simple DVT was not a module without downsides or things to be improved. And for example, lack of automation and flexibility that we saw in the curated module was inherited by Simple DVT, which means that any operations around Simple DVT and around managing validator set were as hard and as complicated as with the curated module. The other thing that appeared kind of a bit later after the release is that onboarding and management of DVT cluster participants turned out to be an absolute nightmare from the operational perspective. It's very hard to coordinate independent stakers having nothing at stake but their will to participate in DVT. So again, this is the thing that could have been improved. But overall, Simple DVT already changed Lido validator sets significantly. We moved from 37 node operators to approximately 300 independent operators, which is almost 10 times the increase. And I cannot say how happy I am about that. And there was an additional node operator alignment and safety measure, which is now not just trust, but trust plus decentralized validator technology. The rest of the parameters remained more or less the same for the Lido validator set with the introduction of Simple DVT. So let's summarize. With Simple DVT, Lido validator set featured even better decentralization than previously. Now, with best professional node operators and community stakers, still ensuring ecosystem support, great performance, and additional protection of not just insurance fund, but also DVT. On the downsides, only curated entrants remain the constraint. So even though community stakers were welcomed and finally joined Lido node operator set, all of them passed through some sort of a curation process, so it wasn't still permissionless. Operator's reputation and DVT is still good, but in my personal opinion, not enough to ensure the best and the most robust validator set. Limited expansion capacity remained, and even though we made a huge step from 37 to 300 node operators, the further expansion capacity was limited because of the complexities that I've already mentioned, like complicated onboarding and coordination. And the level of automation, even though it still remained low. So it all moved to a step two, fully permissionless Lido. And this is where community staking module joins the game. Back 1 year ago in 2024, CSM was released featuring a bespoke code to allow permissionless entry, thanks to features like bond requirement, automated penalties, and much more. We were finally able to add this amazing module to the protocol and finally add permissionless entry to the protocol via a unique module that has been designed from scratch to allow for permissionless entry and to fit community stakers in the best way possible. But CSM is more than just a permissionless module. It features the lowest bond requirements on the market, the best staking rewards, amazing features of performance leeway and priority queues, identified community stakers framework, and cool safety features like bad performance ejection, and much, much more. But since we don't want to spend like the whole day, the all hours speaking just about CSM today, let's just focus on these four features that I personally find the most outstanding for CSM. Be aware of if you're not. And if you are aware, you can celebrate together with us on how good and how great CSM is, not just for Lido, but firstly for community stakers. So let's start with best staking rewards. And to understand why these rewards are the best, we need to understand how node operator rewards actually work in CSM. And it's pretty simple. To run validators in CSM, node operators have to provide bond. And this bond is converted internally into STETH. And as you know, STETH is a rebasable token. So you get your STETH no matter if you hold it on your wallet or if you hold it as a bond in CSM or CSM contracts, lock it as a bond. And the other thing, while locking bond, you are also running a full-featured 32 ETH validator, and this validator acquires rewards. So some portion of this rewards is split in between node operators and Lido DAO. So this is where you get the second portion of your rewards. And both of these portions combined might result in up to 2.36 times the multiplier in APR compared to solo staking, which is absolutely amazing. And I swear there are no other home staking solutions that can offer you such a great conditions. So if you are on the market for huge validator rewards and you want to fully control the risks on your staked ETH, well, maybe this is the solution for you. Moving up next to performance leeway, the other thing that makes the life of community stakers even better, even more relaxed. So you're not just getting increased rewards, you are also benefiting from socialized rewards. So all of the rewards acquired by all Lido validators are combined together and then evenly distributed between staking modules and within modules in between node operators. And in CSM, this split is done in the following way. So if your performance over the 28-day period is above the threshold, which is currently set at either network average minus 5% for identified community stakers or network average minus 3% for independent operators, you are eligible for the portion of this socialized rewards. So no more waiting for block proposal, no more waiting for huge MEV. You can already have it all socialized across the pool should you perform in a good way. But if you drop below this performance threshold, which is honestly very forgiving at the moment, you will not get rewards this frame. And should you sustain this bad performance, well, after a certain period of time, your validators will be ejected. But again, as I mentioned, performance threshold is very forgiving, so you don't need to fight for this 5 nines in your performance, and you can comfortably validate from home, like I do, for example. Moving up next to a feature that I personally like the most about CSM, which is priority queues. And this is absolutely amazing feature. You all know that it might take a while for CSM keys to get deposits because of the staking market dynamics, because of how Lido protocol works. And those of you, for example, being early Rocket Pool node operators, also know that from time to time, it might take a long time to wait for your validator to be deposited because you're only providing a fraction of a bond and not full 32 ETH. So with priority queues, identified community stakers can get up to their first validators deposited via priority queue, which stands ahead of the default queue where unknown operators and just large operators have their keys, which means that if you're just joining your staking journey as an identified community staker, you have decent chances of getting your validators deposited in almost no time and starting your validation as soon as possible. And that's absolutely great. And this is a great entry point combined with a very low bond requirements for the new identified community stakers or just stakers willing to join Ethereum validation. And finally, identified community stakers framework. This is an absolute masterpiece. I'm not gonna lie. This is the framework that allows community stakers to prove that they are indeed experienced, independent humans with mandatory KYC or things like that. So you just need to provide a few of your addresses, and based on your on-chain and off-chain footprint for these addresses, the overall score will be calculated for your application, and should you score enough in each category and overall, you will be identified as a community staker and you will get all of the benefits that I've mentioned and much more. So if you want to apply for identified community staker today, do not hesitate to scan the QR code or just go to csm.lido.fi and click on the operator type button and you will read all the information you need about identified community staker framework and how access to all of the benefits that we talked about today. So with CSM, Lido validator set transformed even more, right now featuring more than 600 independent node operators, with Trust, DVT, and Bond being a node operator alignment and safety tools, with more than 15K STEV being provided as a bond by CSM node operators, which, if you noticed, is 3 times more than the total coverage that had been previously available for the whole protocol for just a fraction of this protocol, because CSM currently sits at just 5% of the protocol. We have more than 200 active identified community staker participants, which makes us even more confident in the number of independent operators we have in total. Because, by the way, if you just have a permissionless protocol and you have certain addresses operating validators, it does not inherently mean that all of them are independent. But with ICS, our level of confidence is way higher now. And Lido protocol still maintains a very good performance according to Raver. So with CSM, with community staking, Lido Validator now features permissionless entry. Almost 10% share in total of community stakers among validators. And this picture, by the way, is outdated because CSM is now at 5%, as I said. And for sure, with community stakers, Lido is the most decentralized validator set at scale. So with CSM, Lido Validator set had proven that it is still the best validator set on Ethereum. And now you might ask, okay, but we've celebrated CSM. That's great. CSM has been here for almost a year. Cool. And you probably already operate in CSM. But what's next with CSM? Well, unfortunately, I cannot share the exact details, but I can give you a sneak peek on why you should stay tuned. So in 2026, there would definitely be some things around CSM plus DVT about making DVT a more viable option in CSM so that we can combine benefits of CSM and simple DVT all together in one module. There would be some interesting research and maybe even development regarding OXO2 validators and much, much more. So stay tuned, validate with CSM, and let's all celebrate. And now I think we can transition to the next thing, and a segue to this thing will be ICS framework. As you might have noticed, in ICS framework, you need to prove your engagement either in Lido ecosystem or in Ethereum ecosystem. And one of the ways to prove your engagement in Lido ecosystem is to claim a thing called OAT, which is, by the way, on-chain achievement token. And thanks to our amazing marketing team, I learned it yesterday. So take your phone, scan the QR code, and claim this OAT, which would give you one additional point in one of the categories within proof of engagement, and will prove that you are not just a random guy, but you are the one joining such calls and being interested in what's happening with Lido. This QR code, for those of you watching this stream in record, will be live till December 15. So you have a bit of a time to claim it, even if you are not joining online. And as you claim it, again, do not forget to click both points and OAT to have a memorable badge and points in ICS ecosystem. And as soon as you do it, go learn more about ICS framework, about identified community stakers, and apply, because the next round of assessment of identified community staker applications is due December 22nd. So make sure to apply before this date. And thank you so much. And let's again celebrate 1 year of CSM on mainnet.
Amazing, Dima. Yeah, many things to celebrate. And also, yeah, great work also from the CSM team. I think we can go to the Q&A portion. And yeah, we have this one question that we can answer today. So CSM reaches stake limit. Very sad apparently. But also, when will it be increased? Like, is this something that you guys are thinking of? Like, when, if it's going to happen?
Yeah, for sure. First of all, I think CSM reaching share limit is a great news, both for Lido and community stakers. Uh, Speaking of possible share limit increase, first of all, Lido DAO had already pre-approved stake share limit up to 10% for CSM, which means that the only thing missing right now is the actual on-chain execution. And given the schedule of the on-chain votes and the upcoming major release of Lido v3, we expect that there would be a bit of a time in January or in February to squeeze in the increase for CSM share from 5% to 7.5% as the first step for 2026. And later in H1, the next step would likely be done from 7.5 to 10%. So if you are waiting for CSM share limit increase, well, it would likely be in January or February. But keep in mind that as protocol TVL increase, there are always like a few more spots in CSM to join, like maybe 5, maybe 10. And as I mentioned, identified community stakers get their priority queue sits, which is in front of the whole queue. So if you have ICS badge, if you're already approved or will be approved as identified community staker, do not hesitate to upload 1 or 2 or maybe even 5 keys, and there is a decent chance that you will get deposits even before stake share limit increase.
Okay, amazing. We have another question on the screen. So how often does this ICS application process open? We will be working towards this in the future. This is from Faded.
Yeah, so there is no strict cadence for when the ICS rounds happen. What we usually do is we for now we had only one round. So the second round is due December 22nd. And the next round, the third one, would likely be sometime in Q1, presumably by the end of Q1, so sometime in March. By that time, we should get enough applications so that the whole work around assessment should even worth it. So if you are not in time for this round, so if you cannot apply or do not have enough points till December 22nd, you might still get all of the points and get your ICS badge likely sometimes in March 2026.
Okay, amazing. Yeah, I think that's all that we have time for. Thank you, Dima, once again. And we're going to transition to our next speaker. From the first permissionless Lido module, we're moving to the first historical Lido staking module, which is the foundation of Lido Core. and the curated module. So Sasha, who is the product lead at Lido Core, will guide you through the curated module V2 landscape, which was quite recently published on the research forum and is now being open for feedback and discussion. So Sasha, welcome.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Yeah, we're moving from permissionless module to permissioned one, historically permissioned one, which is going to stay permissioned, but still. Yeah. So today we'll talk about the next big step in Lido protocol's evolution, the curated module v2, or CMv2 as we call it. And as most of you know, the curated module currently secures over 90% of Lido total stake, which makes it the trusted operator backbone of the protocol. And now I think it is important to start with the why. Why we need to talk about this future, and should this future be different from its present state. So, on the side of the reasoning, I can say that it's pretty obvious that staking landscape is changing. That professional operators now compete globally, meaning like outside of the Lido protocol, with more flexible terms that they offer for their clients and stronger guarantees, while the curated module is not flexible enough to adapt for today's market. And CMv2, which we're going to talk about today, is our proposal to evolve the curated module to this new era while keeping it efficient, accountable, and closely aligned with Ethereum decentralized values. So now let's unpack a little bit what exactly I mean by not flexible enough and what needs to be like fixed or improved to make it more flexible and adaptable. So, first of all, I must admit that I personally think that CMV1 has done an incredible job, but it was designed for a different world. The static economics, meaning that it now has the fixed reward share, its rigid stake allocation when all the stake is distributed evenly across all of the node operators, and reliance on social reputations are reaching their limits at this point on the current market. Also, as a last point, the governance was pretty heavy because, as some of you know, the even such like small and pretty easy actions like changing the reward address of a node operator should go through the full on-chain vote. So, and now the main challenge is how do we modernize it without losing what made CMV1 successful? And here where CMV2 comes in. CMV2 is built around four guiding ideas, which is sustainability, competitiveness, alignment, and autonomy. And all the features that I'll talk about later on are reflecting these principles. But before we go to actual features that we want to introduce in the next iteration of the curated module, I want to touch upon the timelines. So the upgrade of the curated module is proposed to be delivered in two phases. Phase number one launches in Q2 2026 with the core changes as bonding, operator types, OXO2 support, and consolidations. The phase number two arrives later that year, bringing the concept of validator market that we'll unpack a little bit further. And this phase approach is done for the purpose of starting consolidations sooner than later, because according to our estimations, the consolidation process, in order to consolidate all the stake that currently sits in the curated module, it will take more than 4 months. So splitting the delivery of CMV2 into two releases will allow us to introduce features gradually so that our current node operators can adapt to these changes while coordinating a thorough migration process. So now it's time to dive into the features, and we start with phase number one. So what we should expect in the nearest future. So here we have 4 main features we want to introduce, and we start with bond, which is the biggest practical shift for node operators. Now, instead of relying like purely operator provides a bond in the form of ETH, STs, or wrapped STs, which will eventually convert into staked ETH. So the bond is here to cover events like slashing, like extended downtime, or protocol rules violation that node operators can commit. The bond will sit at a node operator level, not a validator level, like it is done in CSM, in order to make coverage more efficient, meaning that when node operator uploads a key, it provides some portion of a bond. And in case of, say, slashing, not only this portion that was provided specifically for this key will be used, but the overall bond for this node operator. Now, since we introduced bond, there should be a way of how the protocol can utilize this bond. And this is like a feature that complements bonding mechanics. So here the idea that the incidents are reported via EasyTrack to still keep this DAO oversight. And there is a challenge period and the bond deduction if the protocol violation rules was valid. Now let's talk about operator types, and this is the idea that is already introduced in the upcoming fee change for the curated node operators. And this is like an idea of how protocol can recognize the diversity among node operators. We want to introduce 7 operator types, each with tailored incentives, performance leeway, and bond levels. At this point, it is important to know that every node operator entity can have multiple subnode operator types. So, for example, there can be an operator who runs a portion of their keys under a DVT setup, qualifying this part of their operations as intra-operator DVT cluster, while the rest of the keys will remain under the professional trusted operator type. Moving up next, CMV2 introduces the reward splitter. This is the pretty easy mechanism that allows node operator to distribute your rewards to multiple recipients. And this feature essentially simplifies integrations with DVT infrastructure providers like OBL and SSV, and also enables a contribution to public goods as a protocol guild. So it's a pretty well-known practice when node operators can voluntarily decide to allocate some portion of their rewards to contribute to public goods. And like in my current example, it's protocol guild. I think that this is it in terms of the features we want to introduce in the phase number 1 and the release number 1, which again is expected to arrive sometime in Q2 2026. And now let's look at phase number 2 and what it's going to bring to the Lido protocol. So here we have more features, and let's start diving into them one by one. So the first major feature is the introduction of custom fees. So instead of fixed fee that we see right now and that we're going to see in the nearest future for CMV1, node operators can define their own pricing. So this allows operators to express their real-world structures and allows the protocol to allocate stake more efficiently, balance DAO-defined limits with the operator-offered fee. So as a result of the introduction of this feature, we'll have more fair competition and more efficient stake distribution. So essentially, it means that the stake will be distributed, the stake weight allocation will be different for those who set different fees as a part of the Lido protocol. Moving forward, what do we have next? Next, we have strike system. So this is like somewhat a new accountability layer for the curated module, and I would say that this is that goes from 0 to 1. So currently, node operator performance is not accounted anyhow in the curated module. CSM has done a good job in terms of like tying this performance metric into node operator rewards. While in the curated module we think what is going to be more efficient is to not directly tie it with the rewards, but make some misbehavior contribute to node operator weight. So rather than relying on a single incident penalties where we can say, hey, there is something going wrong with your node operator, your rewards will be deducted. The strike system will look at the overall behavior of the node operator, where each strike, for example, like poor performance or like protocol rules violation, reduces an operator's stake allocation weight within this big Walmart architecture. So if this issue persists, the node operator may eventually end up being ejected from the curated module. So this is something that makes like reliability a continuous metric for the protocol and for the node operators who are a part of this protocol. Moving up next. Here we have bond reserve. The main idea is that operators who want to further align with stakers can post additional bond, most importantly, voluntary. So this is not something the protocol will necessarily ask, but this is something that can contribute to node operator stake allocation weight. So the more capital the node operator committed to back their node operators, the stronger alignment and the greater potential weight in this stake allocation. This is, again, pretty simple but powerful way to turn accountability into opportunity. Next up, we have LDO lock, which has something to do with governance participation. And the idea here is also pretty simple. Node operators can lock LDO and either vote themselves or delegate this part of LDO to be voted from someone else. And active participation in Lido governance would then positively affect their stake weight. This is finally a feature that will incentivize node operator to be engaged, to be more active in Lido DAO governance. And yes, finally, a validator market, which is the thing that puts together all the pieces, all the features I described before. It's a weighting system that dynamically adjusts stake based on transparent and measurable factors like fee curves, like performance history, like bond amount, and the governance engagement of the node operator. The model balances competition with decentralization caps defined by the Lido protocol, ensuring that no single operator dominates. So even in this system, and this is like a pretty common concern among node operators, that this system can basically allow one node operator to dominate. Here it is important to mention that even with the introduction of this system, there will be like ceilings for each node operator that will help to prevent the situation when any single operator dominates. Yes, so this is this big idea, and this is the reason why we want to introduce all the features I mentioned before. And now we have one more feature that is not directly related to Walmart, but this is something that can open the door to new integrations. Here, allow listed protocols such as DeFi partners or institutional clients will be able to deposit directly into a chosen operator or a group or a specific like subset of node operators, minting STs one-to-one. And this is like the main difference between ST vaults and these direct deposits to Lido Core, that customers will be able to still mint STs one-to-one. So this creates business-to-business staking use cases. So for example, depositing directly to DVT-based validators or pre-confirmation infrastructure. And yeah, so this will have control limits. That's why I mentioned that it will be like allow listed protocols will be allowed to directly deposit to the protocol, but will add flexibility to protocol integrations. So next, I want to quickly go through the operator lifecycle to see what is changing for operators. So first up, we have onboarding. There is not much to change. The onboarding is still going to be a permission process, and the operators who want to join curated module will still need to apply, but there will be no need for the Lido DAO to set these reward addresses by the DAO, by the full on-chain vote. Node operators will have functionality that will allow them to do it themselves, as well as change without going through a full DAO vote. Next up, keys uploading, and here we have like the biggest difference. Now node operators just upload their keys, but with the introduction of this bonding system, they will also need to provide bond for each key they are uploading. Stake allocation. So here we have two different mechanisms. So in phase number one, it will be mean first allocation strategy as it is now. And phase number one, which will bring us this Walmart concept, this Walmart mechanic, will be allocating stake according to the combination of the parameters we mentioned before, like node operator fee curve, node operator type, like the strike count, additional STS bond, and LDO locked. Rewards distribution. So now the rewards are distributed daily, while in the curated module v2, they will be distributed once a week or once in 2 weeks. It needs to be decided. And most importantly, node operator will be able to claim their rewards whenever they want. This was one of the main concerns in the feedback. We asked node operators to provide us that different node operators have different flows of how they manage their rewards, and there are pretty big difference in terms of their tax accounting. So that's why we want to give them flexibility here to allow them to claim rewards whenever they want in a way that like better aligns with their accounting, basically. Yeah, now about migration a little bit. So migration from the current version of the curated module to a new version will be done gradually through consolidations, keeping both modules active to avoid any disruption. So again, two main points. Both of the versions of the module will live for some time, and the migration will be happening through consolidation, meaning that all the validators in the curated module v2 will be OXO2 validators. And yeah, I guess that is it. So here's the QR code on the screen where you can find the recent proposal that we posted on the research forum, where we are collecting feedback from node operators. And at this point, we really want to hear opinion of our node operators and maybe some potential node operators who want to join to see the common sentiment among the node operators community to be able to shape the future of the curated module v2 together. And with that said, I'm ready to wrap my presentation up and go to the questions if there are any.
Yeah, we have a few questions from the audience. So David is asking, wouldn't this automatically lead to run to the bottom cost-wise? And this is related to the ability for node operators to set custom fee curves.
Yeah, this is a very good question, and this is a pretty common question from node operators. Maybe I haven't been clear enough to explain that, but yes, this is one of the biggest concern that when we account for custom fees that node operators can set in our stake allocation, it can potentially lead to a race to the bottom. But there are a couple of ideas and mechanisms we want to implement to prevent this from happening. So number one is that for sure, even now, we have this caps for each node operator. And our rule of thumb is that none of the node operators should run more than 1% of total Ethereum stake within the Lido protocol. And this will be true even with the introduction of the curated module v2. Yes, we want to introduce the competition component, but it will be limited anyway. So this is one of the way how we can prevent it from happening, because at certain point when a node operator reaches a certain stake share, there is no more sense to keep competing on the fees, which will stop this competition at some point. Another idea is that we are exploring the idea of creating like a safe space for node operator, where in the beginning they are not providing them a certain portion of stake where competition does not exist. So saying that all of the node operators can validate at a highest possible reward share that is allowed by DAO, and only after ensuring that they have money to keep running their infrastructure, to keep running their staff who supports this infrastructure, and after a certain point the competition starts. This is also something that minimizes the chances of this race to bottom.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And we have another question. Will there be calculations that include performance and other factors, or will these operator price curve be the primary determinant of who is allocator, validators or stake?
Yeah. So when we speak about this overall weight, stake weight that node operators can get, that is calculated based on these numbers, I would say that current idea that fee curves will be the determinant factor in terms of this stake allocation, in terms of how many stake each node operator can get. So the biggest priority will be at fee side that was greater, but also we want to create this idea of strikes, meaning that if a node operator has one strike, maybe nothing happens, it was just a heads up, hey, something is going wrong with your infrastructure, you had an extended downtime or something. But if this issue persists and we see that node operator violates the rules, or there is an extended downtime for this node operator, each strike will allow node operator to have less and less and less and less stake. But in terms of priority, custom fees will have the highest priority in the stake allocation, while performance issues will definitely affect it. Will just definitely affect it. Say if there are 2 strikes, the total amount of stake that can be allocated to this node operator goes down to like 10% or 20%. So this is how we want to tie performance into the stake allocation.
Okay, we have one last question, and I feel people have more questions, so we will link again the forum post at the end of the call. But yeah, from Gvist, how much bond per operator or key?
Yeah, hi GBS, by the way. Okay, so we are aiming to post the analysis that we've done around the size of the bond. So I guess in like coming days, like maximum a week, we will see this proposal from our analytics team on the research forum. But I would say it's like way lower than it is in CSM. We want to introduce the same mechanics that as a bond for the first key, node operators should submit like a significant portion of their bond, while the rest of the keys will be like really small. So I would say that overall, it won't, for the current amount of keys all node operators run in our, each node operator runs in the curated module, it at current calculations won't exceed 100 ETH.
Okay, that's all that we have time for today. So thanks, Sasha, again for the presentation, for all the details. And I think we can go to the next speaker. So this is actually going to be the last block for our agenda today. And this is Lido Labs, Goose and Egg for 2026. So if you're not sure what that means, Vasiliy, who is the executive director at Lido Labs Foundation, will guide you through all of them, what that means, and how they define Lido's next chapter. So please welcome Vasiliy to the stage.
Okay, I'm muted. Hey, you probably know me by now. I'm going to talk about goal setting and grant funding. It's a bit out of the theme of today. It would be fit into token hold. Yeah, sorry, my mics. But now is the time to talk about it because it's going to be put on voting very soon. So, as always, the material is for informational purpose only. It's my opinion, not an advice, not investment, legal, tax advice. The projections are just a thing, like how I think things should go, not like just my judgment can change, not a promise. So, and I am a co-founder of Lido, executive director of Lido Labs. Used to be CTO research lead. You can subscribe to me on Twitter. So I'll start with some good news. This had been a good month. Last month had been a good month for Lido. Staking share grew. We did launch Mellow strategy, liquid vaults, and overall it also had some growth and some good API, and I think it's a good product. Staked ETH ETP by Decentralization launched in Europe. This is pretty cool. I think that's the first liquid staking based exchange trade product in the world. It's literally without precedent, so I think it's very cool. V3 is going to vote very soon. It's on finish line. We're going to vote it to release very soon. And as Dmitriy said us about CSM, its share is at 5%, should increase in the future. And DAO take rate on CSM is also in pretty good place. Like we have DAO take rate at about 6% on rewards, which is pretty cool. So now is the time to set up the goals for 2026 and for DAO to set the goals and for contributors to ask for funding to achieve them. And I think we are in a very, very, very exciting place in the industry life cycle. We have the first year when we are going for a real adoption from early adopters to early majority. We've got fintech giants like Revolut or Stripe going into the industry with full force behind it, not as a just small pilots or something. It's like actual big business move for them. We've got huge institutional exposure for crypto, for BTC, for ETH through treasury companies, and this is also unprecedented. We have grown up competition. We have much clearer regulation. It's very exciting time, and that means that in a different world than we used to be in 2025, in the beginning of 2025, 2024, we need to also have a bit different goals, I guess. In long term, what is happening? There is a very small crypto economy, like $3 trillion is a stretch because it includes all the assets in the crypto economy. And there is a real world mid-space economy that is like huge, one like over 100 trillion. If you include assets, it's going to be like 30 times more than that or something like that. And it's finally got connected by like big channel between them. And I think that what we want is when actual businesses use DeFi, we want part of it to be a Lido developed product. So in the long term. How do we want to achieve it in the short term? Short term, the thing that we want to do is to prop up and support staking as a core and very important business for Lido DAO. Get closer to the customer with the supporting product. We can expand the staking ecosystem with stake vaults, with ETPs. We can ensure protocol resilience with the Lido core upgrade, with which Sasha had just now. We want new revenue streams with Lido Earn, with the liquid vaults on ETH, on other assets going forward. And we want to explore vertical expansion, real-world business applications in 2026. So you can think of it as of like having a big and important part of our product portfolio, staked ETH, as a flagship one, but also growing, promising direction that either are synergistic with staked ETH or are very interesting in the grand scheme of things and the overall adoption wave happening. So we already took first steps toward the vision with Lido V3 going on staked vaults to offer more product to different customer segments, with Lido Core upgrade to reduce the cost of revenue and increase DAO take rate, with the liquid vaults, which support staking products and also have an independent revenue stream. By incorporating other assets that the stakers want, by going after integratable interfaces, other opportunities that can present itself. So like we can be a multi-product organization going forward. For that to happen, Lido Labs is asking for a grant. We do an ecosystem grant request of $60 million, which can be cut in core and growth parts, and growth can be further cut in baseline spending and discretionary. So core spending is the spending that we absolutely cannot recommend to reduce to it's things that are needed to support of the protocol or the products around it, like widgets interfaces, all the making upgrades as Ethereum makes upgrades, which it had 2 in the last year. And this is also one pretty cool fact, or like in the last months, right? Fusok upgrade had done very well. And this is slow on the smaller side than in the previous year. We try to keep this number contained, but we want to ask for larger allocation for the growth, to expand the staking ecosystem, upgrade the core to ensure protocol resilience, scale new revenue streams, and explore vertical expansions and real-world business applications. There will be baseline spending. That is something that we can need right now, like compensation for contributors, revenue share, and things like that are already we are originally sure that we are going to spend over this year. And there will be some amount of opportunistic and discretionary spending that will only be spent when it's clear that it's something that has value and will be kept otherwise. It's thing that we keep to, for example, help integrations go forward and similar kind of spending. So we made a sort of financial statement for the DAO that is based on assumptions that are relatively balanced. We are cautiously pessimistic on ETH price in these assumptions. Like we selected median of ETH price over 2 years, and there had been just like 100 days, I think, in like slightly over 100 days in ETH price history when this price was not pessimistic essentially enough. So I think it's a good cautious estimation of ETH price. We are realistic, like I expect this to more or less be hold on the DAO take rate on core modules and average DAO fee on staked vaults. And we are optimistic on growth, but both on staked ETH, Lido Core, on staked vaults, and Lido growth as well. Again, the projections are just what I think this is going to be, informational instead of definite forecasts. So compared to actuals in 2025, we expect lower gross revenue in US dollars terms because of the mostly because of the ETH price. Actuals consider ETH price at the like month intervals and have been higher on average than our assumptions. But we still think we'll have more net revenue, including from staked vaults, including from new products, treasury management, which will include yield-bearing stablecoins going forward. But we also want to increase the spending on, especially on growth. So if all our assumptions hold, next year is going to be slightly in the red for $6 million. If ETH price is going to be slightly higher, it's going to be in the green. So if next year is going to have like ETH over $3,000, it's going to be a good year for us. And this is our projections for the treasury, 2025 versus 2026, which is going to have slightly less staked ETH at the end of the year. Given that ETH price is going to be like 2.7, it's going to be, if it's going to be higher, then we'll have a better treasury. But 2026 is the time to grow for Lido DAO. It's time to invest, to spend, to try to build things, because it's most interesting time in the history of crypto to build. Like we are finally on the early adopters, like the majority from early adopters. A lot of things happening, a lot of businesses and users are going to use crypto going forward than it used to be. And we are in a strong position thanks for the best-in-class LST product and resilient business model. We have dry powder for growth, and foundation can work on it. And we have good liquidity, brand, network effect to enter the new market segments with a stronger demand for customization. We also have community sentiment change on Lido, which I think is pretty cool. So I feel pretty optimistic going forward. Vote is leave until 19th December. So that's it. Thank you, folks.
Thank you very much, Vasiliy. I think we have a few questions for our Q&A, so let's go to the first question. Regarding the mission, will the mission be updated in light of Goose 3?
So I think now is not the time to update the mission, because like on one hand, Goose 3 is mostly like building the same thing, making staking simple, secure, and decentralized. We are working less on the or intend to work less on the staked ETH and the main product itself, but we want to open this secure, and, simple, and decentralized staking to more segments, and want to improve and support staking by the set of synergistic products, but it's still the same thing. But in general, I think that yes, over the next few years, Lido should do a bit of soul searching. And the mission that we have now is we almost there on it. So we will need to find the right sized mission for the future again. So
okay, yeah, a little soul searching. So second question, can you tell me more about strategy from David?
So yeah, and thank you for congratulations on ETP. Lido strategy is a liquid vault that has been deployed by Melo and has Melo as a curator. And what does it mean is that Melo is, with Lido's blessing, is managing the vault, as in finding the right kind of strategies to put ETH or staked ETH in to get APY that is better than staking, with some amount of increased risk. The strategy that Melo is exploring is I think they're doing at this moment leverage staking, as in borrowing ETH, staking it, and putting staked ETH collateral to borrow more ETH to get more APR on staking, essentially. A bit of carry trade, which is borrowing stablecoin with ETH and getting some APR on stablecoins. And similar low to medium risk kind of yield farming for ETH. And it's been up for, I think, slightly less than a month now. And it's already, I think, in a pretty good place in terms of TVL and user base and etc. etc. etc.
Okay, I think that's all that we have time for. Thank you, Vasiliy, again for coming. And yeah, for the rest of the people that are watching, for our audience, thanks all for today as well for coming. But please stay just for my more minute. Like, I know we're on time, but we have a few call to actions for you. So if you're an independent operator, or home staker, part of the kind of like a community staking group, and haven't yet applied for the identified community staker status, now is the time. So round 2 of applications is going to be open until December 22. So this is the time to give yourself the Christmas gift of being part of ICS. Another point we have is that TMB2 landscape proposal is open for discussion. I know there's quite a few questions regarding this, so please go to the research forum and share all your thoughts regarding this. Finally, I want to announce that the December voting slot has started just today. So check the Lido snapshot via the QR code that is also on the screen, the last one, and vote for the proposals till December 19th. The on-chain vote will actually start on Monday, December 15th. So please take a look at that as well. And that is all for today. Please like, share, and help spread the word about this call. And the next Lido Poolside will get to your screens next year. I want to wish you a happy holiday to everyone, happy new year, and we'll see you in 2026 with a lot more announcements and cool things coming to Lido. Thanks so much for coming, and goodbye.